Welcome to Ready to Mosh, a podcast all about rock, metal and alternative music. I'm Kev P.
And I'm Gem G. Each episode will bring you the latest news, talk about new releases and review gigs and festivals that we've been to. There'll be a smattering of guest interviews and a lot of random chat.
As well as the podcast, you can also find us on Twitter and Instagram. Just search at Ready to Moshcast.
Welcome to episode 3 of Ready to Mosh, and as always we're starting with the news. Some sad news to report first of all this week, and that is that Trevor Stannard of Black Dahlia Murder has passed away at the age of 41. The band released a statement yesterday as we record, which announced the news. No official cause of death has yet been confirmed, but they did post the number to the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline at the end of their social media posts.
Probably offers a little bit of insight then to what actually happened.
Sounds like it, unfortunately. In terms of the band themselves, I'm not a massive fan of them. I'd say they're a band that I've kind of dipped into over the last few years.
Yeah, I've not been a huge fan either. I'm not that familiar with everything they've done.
I have listened to them probably more this year than I ever have done before because they were on the lineup for Bloodstock. I'd heard a lot of good things about their live performance, so I was actually looking forward to checking them out.
Yeah, so I don't know what's going to happen there. I imagine the band are just going to pull out and probably everybody moves up the bill and they bring in maybe some smaller bands to kind of take that gap that there's going to be there.
Quite possibly, yeah. We'll just have to wait and see on that one. But there's been loads of tributes pouring in from many bands across the metal scene. They've obviously had a big influence on a lot of other bands. So, yeah, just some sad news to start with this week.
A couple of things from me. So Whitesnake have launched their farewell tour with Europe and Foreigner. Started in Dublin, I believe, on the 10th. And is that a UK tour?
I believe so, yes.
And I think
UK and Ireland.
UK and Ireland, yeah. So they are playing fairly close to us, but don't think we're going to that one. We've considered it. Yeah,
we considered it, and it's actually on the 20th of May in Nottingham, which is the same night as our rescheduled yet again Enter Shikari gig. Yeah. So even if we wanted to go now, we couldn't. In terms of it being a farewell tour, I think we'll wait and see on that one.
Well, I think it's only Whitesnake that are calling it the farewell tour. I think that, they're co-headlining with Foreigner.
Yeah.
And Europe are supporting.
Yeah, I just meant in terms of other bands that have done farewell tours previously.
Yeah, Aerosmith, Kiss are currently on one.
Ozzy's many farewell tours.
Ozzy's 17.
Lost count.
Ozzy's 17 farewell tours, yeah.
So, yeah, we have seen them before, and it would have been good to see them one last time, but
I don't think I've seen Whitesnake.
Did you not see them at Download?
Were they the same night as Def Leppard?
Yeah.
No, I didn't.
Oh, I've seen them a couple of times. I saw them on their last arena tour as well, supporting Def Leppard.
Yeah, I wouldn't have been at that.
No.
Yeah,
anyway.
I didn't see them. So I don't think I've actually seen any of those bands.
No, I haven't seen Foreigner or Europe. I think we're Europe at Download 2012, and in the back of my mind, I feel like they were supposed to be there then, because it got delayed opening because of all the rain. Yeah. And they never made it or something.
Okay, we'll have to look at that.
Have to look at that one. When something just springs back in your brain.
There's also an announcement due on Tuesday from Bloodstock about the Hatebreed replacement. So I've no idea who that's going to be.
No, I really don't know who it could be.
I couldn't hazard a guess.
I'm going to assume a British band, just given
the logistics
circumstances. But
yeah, logistics would make sense. It's British because it's still, what's the difference between that Download? 2 months? So
yeah, thereabouts.
Unless there's a US band that's maybe at Download and touring after Download.
Possibly. And one final piece of news this week. It's not music news as such, but it has made a lot of headlines, and that is that a woman gave birth at a Metallica concert in Brazil last week. Apparently she was 39 weeks pregnant and gave birth to a little boy who actually turned up during Enter Sandman as they were just closing the set off.
Did you see that Loz had actually, not Loz, James had phoned the parents?
I did see that, yeah. I was just going to add that on, that he'd given them a call to congratulate them as well. So for anyone who thinks they've got some cool first gig stories, yeah, that's going to take some beating, isn't it?
Yeah, that's one hell of
actually born into a gig, so.
Yeah. Okay, we've got reviews next. So I've started with listening to the new 3 Days Grace album. It's a 50-50 kind of thing. It's a bit of a strange album. It starts quite old school with So-Called Life, and I really like that track. But then it kind of goes a little strange after that. The next couple of tracks are a little bit weird. Track 3, for instance, has got Lucas Rossi on it, who actually entered or featured on a reality show called Rockstar.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's... the second and third tracks I really don't... Well, the third track especially I really don't like, which features him. And then I'm the Weapon is okay. Lifetime is an interesting switch. That reminds me of Bad Flower, so I think you'll really like that one.
Okay.
There's a few tracks on there that do sound quite like Bad Flower.
That's interesting.
There's a great track after that called A Scar Is Born. Really catchy, follows on nicely. A couple of tracks down, you've got No Tomorrow. That kind of falls back to sort of classic 3 Days Grace. So it's an interesting album. I don't know, I've not listened to 3 Days Grace for quite some time. I don't know if it's the way that 3 Days Grace have kind of currently moved forward and what they're doing now, or if it's a new switch for them.
Yeah, I'm not overly familiar with a lot of their previous stuff, to be honest, so might give it a listen.
Some of this is very, very different to what I remember. Yeah, it's not my favourite album that I've listened to so far this year. It's an okay kind of offering, but not. I wouldn't say it's mind-blowingly outstanding at all.
Okay, marks out of 10?
5, 6.
Okay.
It's
average then.
average,
definitely.
yeah, definitely. There's a lot of it's very middle of the road, so I think it kind of like reflects that.
Yeah. I've actually listened to 3 new singles this week rather than an album. I wanted a bit of variety. So the first one is Kreator, Midnight Sun. And this is the 3rd single from their upcoming 15th album.
15?
15th, yeah, they've been around 37 years.
God. I didn't realise they were that old.
I knew they were kind of old school, but I didn't realise that old school. Yeah, they are a band that wouldn't say I'm a massive fan on, but I do dip into them now and again when I want to listen to a bit of German thrash, as you do. This one, it starts out with your usual kind of thrashy guitars, but it's actually featuring Sophia Portanet, and it's the first time they've collaborated with a female vocalist. Sophia is actually an upcoming German singer. I think she's more of a pop singer than kind of a rock or metal singer, but it does work. Okay. So you kind of have your thrashy guitars and then it goes into quite a melodic kind of ethereal chorus with her vocals coming in. It's quite catchy.
So what's it kind of similar to, do you think?
I would say with the female vocalist on it, probably something like Lacuna Coil.
Okay, could be interesting.
That's kind of the vibe I got from it. So yeah, that was a good one. I'm looking forward to the album. I think that's coming out in June.
Okay, just in time for festival season then.
Of course. The next single I listened to was Alestorm's latest, Party.
And does it make you want to?
It does. What else would Alestorm do? So this is their 2nd single from their upcoming 7th album, 7th Rum of a 7th Rum. Which
oh, what a fantastic...
I love that title.
That is amazing. I love that.
I mean, it's typical Alestorm sing-along pirate metal. Catchy chorus that gets stuck in your head. They're singing about drinking, having a good old pirate party time. So
I'm going to have to give that a listen.
My favourite line from it is, over there is Captain Yarface drinking from a shoe. That stood out. What else can you say about Alestorm? They're like the Venga Boys of the metal world. Catchy little ditties. Yeah. They're on their 7th album coming up. They all sound very similar, but you just love them, don't you? It's
a drinking in the sun kind of band, isn't it?
Exactly. I'm kind of annoyed that they're on the Sunday at Download because I don't usually drink quite so much on the Sunday with having to drive home the next morning.
It's okay. I'll take care of that for you. I'll do plenty of drinking.
They're on early afternoon though, so I'm sure I can manage a couple of rums or so while they're on.
Which stage are they?
Main stage, I think. Yeah, main stage.
Okay. Could be good. Sat on the hill if it's nice and dry.
Yeah, or down the front doing a pirate dance maybe.
What does a pirate dance consist of?
Well, you have to wait and see. Last one I listened to, I've only listened to this a couple of times, but I just came across it while I was out on a walk earlier, actually, and that is the latest Soulfly single, Superstition. It's the lead single from their 12th album.
How have I missed so many albums?
Yeah, I was thinking that. I bought their first 2 on actual CD, and they just seem to have fell off my radar.
Yeah.
And now they're on their 12th studio album, and the first one since 2018, so they've been pretty consistent releasing them, but... It's a good song. It's general standard Soulfly, really. Chuggy guitars, tribal drums, Max shouting away in the background. But yeah, looking forward. I might check out their new album when it comes out and maybe have a look at some of the back catalogue that has completely passed me by.
Yeah, I'm going to have to keep an eye out. Really liked Soulfly back in the day, so it'd be good to give that a listen.
Right, so it's time for Rock the Week, where we look back on this week in rock and metal history. So starting with on the 16th of May 2010 is the day that Ronnie James Dio passed away at the age of 68 from stomach cancer. That was 12 years ago.
It doesn't seem 12 years.
It doesn't, does it?
No.
Ronnie, as we know, is a legend in the metal world, obviously starting out in Rainbow, dipping into Sabbath, doing his solo stuff 30-odd years, I think Dio were around, then dipped back into Sabbath in the 90s as well. And I do have a random fact about Ronnie, which some people may know, you may even know, because you know all the random facts.
I wouldn't say I know them all.
But apparently he severed his thumb in a garden accident in September 2003, and he did this because a very heavy garden gnome fell on it.
Okay.
Apparently he said his first concern was that he wouldn't be able to do his horns anymore.
Okay.
As in his horn
but
hands.
not his guitar playing?
No, his first concern was for his horn hands, as it were. But luckily a doctor managed to reattach it anyway, so all ended well on that one.
That is very similar to Tony Iommi, who severed the tips of his fingers when he was about 17 in a work accident, and he had to learn how to play guitar again. And it's weird that they both played in Sabbath.
I was going to say, some kind of connection there.
If you're ever asked to, so there's a top tip, if you're ever asked to tour with Sabbath, stay away from sharp implements because you will lose the tips of your fingers.
Or wear some very thick
or protective gloves.
Yeah,
some chainmail.
That's the word I was looking for, chainmail gloves. And on the 17th of May 2017, Linkin Park released their 7th studio album, One More Light, which was their last album. A lot of the information about it says it was their last one with Chester, but they haven't released one without Chester.
Yeah.
So it was their last album as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, it's going to be the last studio one, isn't it? Yeah.
It wasn't my favourite Linkin Park album. It was the one where they took a turn towards a more pop direction.
Yeah. I gave this a wide berth. It wasn't really my thing.
No, and a lot of fans thought the same. I don't mind a band changing their direction, but I really wasn't into this. I remember hearing the single on my way to work one day and I was just like, what is this? This isn't Linkin Park. But it was, obviously. Having said that, the single One More Light is one of my favourite songs, although I do find it very hard to listen to and watch the video just.
In year 2000, in the UK rock and metal album charts, Enema of the State was at number 1. It was the first album with Travis Barker, who replaced Scott Rayner on drums.
Okay.
It had Janine Lindemulder, who was an adult actress. She was on the front cover of the album, and she was also in the video for What's My Age Again?
Yeah.
When they're running down the street. My Age Again was a huge single off that, along with All the Small Things.
All the classics.
Yeah, all the classics. Maybe that's what they should have called it.
Yeah.
It actually reached number 2 in the UK singles chart, so that was a massive song there.
Yeah, I remember it being big.
Yeah, the video parodied NSYNC, Backstreet Boys and Britney.
Yeah, I actually had a chance to see Blink on the Enema of the State tour in probably about 2000 or 2001, and I didn't go.
That's a big mistake.
Well, I just wasn't really into pop punk at the time. It just really didn't do it for me. I think they must have been playing Cardiff Arena, and I knew a few people who were going, and they said, "Oh, do you want to come?" I was like, "Nah, you're right."
Oh.
So that's a musical regret.
Yep.
Future episode perhaps on those, but...
Yeah, that'll be a good one.
Anyway, moving on.
Yeah, moving on. In 1997, so many years ago, Monkey Wrench was at number 1 in the UK rock and metal singles chart.
25 years ago, is that now a classic?
That will be a classic now, yeah.
Gosh.
Absolutely love this song. It's one of my favourite Foo Fighters songs.
Same.
And it's from The Colour and the Shape, which is my favourite Foo Fighters album.
Yeah.
I don't think they've done one better than that.
No, I agree with that as well.
Here's a question for you. Do you remember the video for it?
Not off the top of my head.
It starts with Dave Grohl getting into a lift.
Yes.
Yeah? Can you remember what's playing in the lift?
Oh, I can't now. I can see it. And I know there's some music, but I can't remember.
It's a Muzak version of Big Me.
That's it, yeah.
Which turned up later in... Was it the next album that turned up on?
I thought it was on the first album.
Was it on the first album?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, it's also, interestingly, the first video that Taylor Hawkins was in.
Yes, would have been.
But the drums on the track were played by Dave Grohl.
Yeah.
So Taylor didn't play the drums on the track, but played the drums in the video. It had, of course, legendary Pat Smear on it, who's just an incredible guitarist. I think he was in the Germs, as well as a few other bands. But yeah, really love this song. It's, like you said, it's a classic now. In every sense of the word.
Yeah. As we're now approaching festival season, we thought we'd do our first festival-related feature this week, and it's a Festival Flashbacks. So we've got 6 categories of different incidents, occasions...
Highlights,
lowlights. We're just going to take it in turns to go through each category and, starting off with the worst thing that you've ever seen at a festival.
Okay, I've got a couple of contenders for this.
Okay.
And they are absolutely revolting.
Brace yourselves, people.
The first one I'm going to put forward was, I can't remember if it was download 17 or 18. And I saw a very unique way of somebody getting a full bottle of wine into a festival.
Yes.
And when I say a full bottle of wine, I mean an actual wine bottle. Inserted about her person, I think is the politest way to describe it.
I would agree with that, yes.
I mean, God knows what damage she's done to her body over the years, but to insert a full wine bottle is one hell of an effort.
I think this was 2017 because it was the year when security was really high after the Manchester Arena bombing. And because I'd got a bag, it took me a lot longer to get in.
It did take, yes. And it was while I was waiting for you to get through security.
That you witnessed this.
That I saw this. I'd been in a while and I think I was messaging you at the time and I just looked up from my phone and then saw this happen and went, oh my God. Yeah, that's definitely a contender. I don't know if it's the worst thing I've ever seen.
There's worse than that.
There's worse than that. So I think something that possibly beats this is from Leeds Festival, which I think was 2014. And it was the most horrific thing I've ever seen. I think we were both going to the toilets in the main big kind of block of toilets.
Yeah.
And the men's toilets were to the right. And the queues were absolutely ridiculous. And then I saw a guy basically come flying out of the disabled toilets. And somebody who was able-bodied, but he'd come running out of the disabled toilets. And I looked around, it wasn't being used, there was nobody needing it. So I just kind of thought, I'm going to be 30 seconds, I'm just going to quickly nip in. So I nipped in and was hit with the worst smell I've ever smelled at a festival to start with. And that was kind of like, that was about as good as it got. So we've been doing festivals for a number of years now. I'm used to various layers of shit everywhere in a toilet, all backed up. You expect it. It's a festival. What I didn't expect was to see, bearing in mind this is a disabled toilet, so people are going to have to wheel through this. There was 3 different piles of shit in the toilet. When I say different piles of shit, they were from 3 different people.
Are you sure they were?
Well, the reason I'm positive that they were from different people, because they were 3 very different textures. So it wasn't one person doing it 3 times in 3 spots. It was 3 different attempts. And I only noticed because I kind of looked up, the smell was so bad, and I looked round and realised I was kind of 2 inches away from where somebody had decided to empty the bowels all over the floor. It was, now I kind of know why this guy came flying out so quickly, looking like he was going to be sick. And I actually remember seeing him fly out looking like he was going to be sick and thinking, it can't be that bad. It really can't be that bad. But yeah, that is definitely the worst thing I think I've seen.
So did you actually walk in, notice what was in there and still use the facility yourself?
No, so I was halfway through having a piss and I looked around and then saw it everywhere.
Oh, okay. So you still actually, I didn't know if you'd seen it and then walked out.
No.
And found an alternative.
No. I was mid-flow.
Okay.
I was mid-flow, shall we say. And then I spotted it all and I was almost sick. Yeah, it was quite revolting. How about you?
Mine aren't quite so extreme. I have got a couple myself. The first one is from Ready to Rock, Camping at Download, which I think this one was a 2017 one. And Ready to Rock it's quite a neat little campsite because it's the one where they've got the pre-pitched tents.
Yeah.
So it's all in nice neat rows ready pitched up for you. So when you walk through the campsite, it's kind of a walkway. It's a nice little line that you walk down. And I remember one morning walking down the line of tents towards the toilets, and there was a boy in the porch of his tent. Bearing in mind, the 2-man tents are literally very small 2-man tents.
Yeah, they are very, very small 2-man tents.
With a very tiny porch area. And there was a boy very clearly cleaning up vomit from the porch of his tent. I just thought, that must be the worst thing to be sick in your own tent.
Oh, God.
Especially a small tent.
The smell,
and
the heat. Yeah, that's not going to be pleasant.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
And no amount of cleaning is ever... That smell's always just going to burn in the back of your mind.
It's always going to be there, especially if it's warm, because I think it was...
It was warm.
It was a warm and wet year, that one, wasn't it?
Yeah.
2017. So, yeah, that was quite unpleasant to witness. Obviously, it would have been worse for him having to live in the tent with the smell, but still, I just thought that is a bad thing to experience.
Yeah, I wouldn't have liked that. Not in the slightest.
My second one, a slightly different worst experience, is going back to Leeds Festival in 2016.
Okay.
And this was the sight of you nearly dying, choking on a steak.
Yeah.
Was it a steak sandwich?
It was a steak sandwich.
Yes.
Yeah, not my finest moment, if I'm honest.
No, I hadn't realised what was happening. We'd both gone to different food vendors at that point of the afternoon. It was a Sunday. We'd had quite a lot to drink. And it was one of those days where we got accidentally drunker than planned, quicker than planned, I think we can say.
Oh, yeah.
And it was mid-afternoon and we both realised we really needed some food. And I can't remember what I had, but you went off and got yourself a steak sandwich. We were stood together eating it, and the next thing I realised was that you were literally choking on said steak.
Yeah, not my finest moment. I actually had to pull the steak out of my throat.
Yes, I remember it landing in the mud. It was, yeah.
Yeah, well, it was regurgitated steak, yeah.
Definitely up there with a worst experience as well. And probably one of your worst experiences, really, wasn't it,
was,
actually?
Yeah.
You didn't have to see it, but you actually experienced it.
Yeah. I think if I'd not got it out when I did, it could have been a lot worse than just some steak stuck in my throat.
But fortunately, we can look back on it with humour.
We can now. Okay, what's the next?
Next one is the funniest thing you've seen at a festival.
I was trying to think of something that really kind of stands out for me. There was actually one thing I remember at 2019 at Download in the courtyard.
Oh.
You know what I'm going to say now, don't you?
I might know now, yeah.
So we were at the front watching Those Damn Crows and Wolfjaw.
Wolfjaw, yeah.
And there was a guy who was... I think it was the same guy that was shaking the rails, wasn't it?
It was the same one.
It was the same guy.
Yeah.
We were all stood on the railings, and some people were kind of leaning on it, but this one guy was just going a bit crazy, just shaking the railings.
He was, but he looked like he'd been drinking a long time, because this was the evening, wasn't it? So I think he'd probably been on it a good 12 hours.
This would have been around 8ish, somewhere around there, 7, 8 o'clock.
Yeah, possibly around then, possibly a bit later.
But this guy was absolutely steaming. At first, a couple of people thought I was shaking the rails, and I kind of moved my hand off the rails and went, "It's not me. You can clearly see it's not me." And I remember him... I think he got ushered away.
I think so. Security kept
I think it was
either
security eyeing him up, but I think his friends kind of ushered him away.
Yeah, I think they did in the end, because it was getting to the point where it looked, although it wasn't kind of a crushing crowd leaning on the barrier, it looked like the barrier was going to tip over.
Yeah, something could have happened. Yeah, so he kind of got ushered away. Everything went back to normal, and I think the set just finished.
I can't remember.
I've got a feeling, I think the set had just finished. I think it might have been Wolfjaw.
Yeah.
Their set had just finished, and I remember turning round, talking to you, and we both saw this guy stumbling towards quite a, I don't know, mid-range height wall, sort of 3-4 feet.
It's a flower bed, wasn't it? It's a raised flower bed, I think.
Was it? I thought there was a wall, and then... Well, it was a wall and a flower bed, if you kind of get what I mean. It was kind of the centrepiece around the courtyard, and this guy just absolutely face planted straight through them, just wiped everything out in his path.
Yeah, it literally face planted flat to the floor.
It was absolutely hilarious. He got up eventually, and he was okay, just covered in flowers and mud.
Bit dazed,
but okay. Yeah, so I think that's one of the funniest things I've seen.
Yeah, I've forgotten about that, actually.
And how about you?
The funniest thing I have seen was at Download 2018, and it was on the Thursday night. We were staying in the Ready to Rock camping, and I think we got there, was it afternoon time that year?
Yeah, it was afternoon. It was absolutely boiling.
It was a lovely sunny afternoon. We got tent ready pitched up for us, so we just got the stuff in, a couple of trips from the car park, sat down, drinking away. Got chatting to our tent neighbours a bit later on, and then we went for some food, and then we decided to go to the doghouse in the village with our tent neighbours. We went there probably couple of hours or so, having a drink, having a dance.
Yeah, it was a good laugh. Yeah, everything going well.
And then we went back to our tent. I've no idea what time it was. Midnight, possibly later.
It was well after.
I can't actually remember quite how this happened, but I think we decided that we wanted a pot noodle. We were just going to sit outside and have another drink. I can't quite remember.
I could tell you exactly what happened. We'd come back. I was going to have a cigarette, and you were going to go inside and get changed.
That was it. I knew there was a reason that we got a camping chair or camping chairs out at that point.
Well, I think we'd left them out.
Had we?
Yeah, because we knew about one of the camping chairs.
That was it. Basically, to fill in that little gap, we had one good camping chair and one camping chair that was a bit dodgy, and I was using the dodgy one and you were using the one we knew was all right.
Yeah.
However, on this instance, when we got back to the tent, you sat on the dodgy camping chair.
I did.
I was in the tent and just heard various profanities and shouting, came out and...
Come on, you can get through this. Come on.
Oh, I'm going to have to edit some of this laughing. Oh, dear.
Do you want me to say what happened? Are you going to get through this?
Dear, I'm just trying to think of the words.
Do you want me to do this bit?
Yeah, I found you stuck in the camping chair with it wrapped around you like a clam?
A crab.
A crab.
Oh, clam,
you were
just crab.
Some kind of crustacean. You were just stuck in the camping chair. I don't even know how a camping chair can wrap around you like a crab, but it did. And you couldn't get out. And I don't know how I didn't take a photo. I think because you were actually getting quite angry at this point with being stuck in the chair that I just thought, no, it's going to make him worse.
Yeah, I literally couldn't move. Somehow, both of the arms had kind of wrapped around my midriff and sort of stuck my arms in as well. And kind of pinned me to the inside of the chair. And I couldn't stand up, couldn't move to the side, and had to pretty much kind of force my way out of the chair.
I was going to say, I can't actually remember how you actually got out of the chair.
I had to force it open with my arms, yeah. And it took some effort. It was so tight around me.
That is definitely the funniest thing possibly I've seen ever, not just at a festival. I just remember coming out the tent the next morning and seeing the broken camping chair there, and I thought I took a photo of it, but I can't find it, I don't think. I'll have another look, but I think it might be on an old phone. And yeah, that resulted in a trip to good old Fat Frank's camping store the next morning to get us a replacement camping chair.
It certainly did.
Right, the next one is the worst food that you've had at a festival.
Worst food, by a mile, I've had at a festival is a bacon sandwich at Leeds in 2014.
I forgot about that. I've got a list of things and that is not included. And how could I forget that was?
That was absolutely disgusting.
Yeah, that could have turned me back vegetarian, I think.
Yeah, it was, oh God. It was barely cooked. It was dry. It was... Everything about it was everything that's wrong with a bacon sandwich.
For me, it was definitely the flobberliness of the bacon fat, because when I ate bacon, I definitely loved crispy bacon fat.
Yeah, and there was none of that going on. It was so hastily kind of put together and just, oh, God. Not what you need at that time in the morning when you've done some serious drinking the day before.
I think that was our first...
It was our first... camping at Leeds.
First morning after camping, and yeah, we were quite inexperienced campers. We'd taken some cooking equipment with us, but we just thought, now we'll go and get a bacon sandwich. Served us right, really.
It did. It actually put us in good stead for future festivals, because since then we cook all the time. We're more prepared. We take a lot of different things.
Definitely more self-sufficient now.
Yeah, that bacon sandwich, absolutely revolting. Oh, still have nightmares about it.
Have you got any others?
No, I think that was the one that just stood out by far.
Okay, I've got a couple. The first one is some nachos that I had at Download in 2019. In 2018, I had probably some of the best nachos I've ever had, and it's those where you get an actual edible nacho bowl. And then they fill it with your nachos and your cheese and your guacamole, and the ones I had in 2018 were amazing. So 2019, I was really looking forward to getting the same ones again. So
was it a different vendor?
It was in the same place. It could have been a different vendor.
Yeah, just because it's in the same place, it doesn't mean it's going to be the same one.
But yeah, they just were not half as good. I don't even know why, but I remember I'd gone off to get them on my own. You'd gone somewhere else.
The cheese sauce was really bad, from what I remember as well.
I don't remember them having cheese sauce.
Yeah, it had a cheese sauce.
Cheese?
Yeah.
I know in 2018 I did get extra guacamole because I didn't want jalapenos. So the man who served me put loads of guacamole on, which probably helped, but they were just not as nice. So that was probably disappointing. Maybe they weren't that bad, but I just got the memory of the ones the year before.
Being really good.
Yeah, so I think it was definitely disappointing. And then my other worst food, which I've had twice now, is Easy Cheesy. They're there every festival, every year. And I remember having them in, I don't know, 2017 or 18 at Download. Seeing all the stores and thinking, oh, I love cheesy chips, got to try that. And I thought, ugh, these are vile. And then we had them at Download Pilot last year, didn't we? It was...
I can't remember eating them at the Pilot.
Saturday afternoon. I think it was a point where we just really, really needed some food, and that was the closest stall, so we just went.
That shows you how lazy we can get. It's the closest stall.
It was at that point. I just thought...
I think it might have been... There was no queue as well.
And there's a reason.
There is a reason there's no queue. Yeah.
Festival tip, don't go to food vendors that don't have a queue. There's a reason they don't have a queue. But yeah, it's just the liquid cheese. It's just wrong on every level, really. As a person who loves cheese, who loves chips, who loves cheesy chips, no. So they're my two worst ones.
All right, fair enough. What's the next category?
It is the best foods.
Well, I know what's top of my list for this.
I think this might be the same.
I'll be surprised if it is.
Okay.
In fact, I know it won't be the same because you didn't have it.
I'm surprised then. I mean, I've got a few for mine anyway, but if you want to share yours...
Yeah, okay, so my favourite food experience was the duck wraps that I had when Black Sabbath were playing.
I remember those, yeah. You were very pleased with those, weren't you?
Oh, yeah, I was really pleased with those. They were absolutely amazing. I think it was Sunday night, and yeah, it finished off a good weekend for me, that. They were absolutely incredible. Really, loads of duck, cooked really well, really nice, all put together well. I enjoyed that.
Have you got any others?
Well, I do remember the Sunday dinner being good. That was at the Pilot Festival.
I thought that was going to be on your list, because that's on my list.
And I do remember getting quite a bit of crackling, and I love crackling. But yeah, I think that's up there, but the duck the duck that I had was my favourite by a long way.
Well, my top one is the Yorkshire pudding. We're calling it the Sunday dinner because we always have one on a Sunday. We had one, was it 2019, I think, as well? Which
I don't remember being that good in 2019.
It wasn't. I think it's a different seller that was at the Pilot last year. There was a massive queue for them all weekend, really, wasn't there?
Yeah.
And festival foods are expensive, but that was definitely at the top end. I think it was about £12 something.
Oof.
But you get so much, and it's all edible, and to be honest, you don't need to eat a lot else if you're having one of those. So it's a giant Yorkshire pudding. You get is it mash or chips?
Yeah.
And it's proper mash, not smash.
Yeah, which helps.
Your meat of choice.
Gravy,
stuffing, mushy peas, I believe. I was a bit disappointed at the Pilot Festival because they had run out of the vegetarian sausages, but I got extra stuffing instead.
So you
which was fine.
Almost had like a nut roast.
Almost, yeah. Definitely the best thing I ate all weekend at the Pilot Festival.
Yeah, it was a good food, that.
The other couple of things that stand out to me are, I can't remember what year this was, but we had some cheesy chips, but they were rosemary chips.
Oh, I'd forgotten about those, yeah.
And they were
really good.
It was a really tiny stall, and I think all they sold were pretty much these rosemary chips or another, maybe just salted chips.
Yeah.
With or without cheese.
Were they in a cone?
In a cone, yeah. I think I have got a picture of those somewhere, obviously. But I just remember those being some of the best cheesy chips ever.
Yeah. I'd completely forgotten about those. They were good chips.
And then the other thing that stood out to me when I was thinking was the breakfast cob, or bread roll if you're not from round here, that we had in Sleepy Hollow in 2019, the little van that we got there.
Yes.
That was really good. I had an egg and hash brown one, and that was just perfect.
Yeah, I think I had bacon, egg, hash brown. That was a good breakfast cob.
Because you don't often see hash browns on a
you
vendor
don't.
stall. I've not noticed many. So that definitely made it. I think it was on either Thursday or the Friday, and it was raining, so we couldn't set up the barbecue and do our own.
I think that was Thursday morning. We went up to the top of the hill and got that.
I think it stopped raining for long enough to go and get that and then get back to the tent.
Yeah. It was a bit of a washout to start with that, wasn't it? But yeah, that was a good breakfast. Oh, got me thinking about food now. Yeah. Making me think about food now. What's the next category?
Right, the final category we've got then is just general best experience at a festival.
Okay, I've got a few contenders for this.
Okay, go on then.
As I've been thinking about it. So there's watching Avenged Sevenfold with you on the Ferris wheel, a download.
That was pretty cool. That's the first time I've actually been on the big wheel.
Yeah, it was really cool. There were amazing views of the whole of download. The journey up there is not quite as pleasant as it looks. It was quite windy.
Yeah, and it just took a bit of getting used to, I think, as well.
Yeah, and I think once you got used to it, you could you were okay. Especially when we realised you could actually turn the carriage that you sat in.
Yeah, with the
around,
kind of wheel
with
thing,
the wheel
you could
in the
actually
middle.
move yourself around and get a different view without having to stand up.
Yeah, so there's a top tip. You don't have to sit on one particular side. You can actually move it round. Yeah, so that was absolutely amazing. The views were incredible. Avenged Sevenfold. I'm not a huge Avenged Sevenfold fan, but they put on a great show. Deserve to be headliners, and were just really, really good.
Yeah, I agree with that. I don't know why we've not been on the Ferris wheel since, have we? I think
no, because 2018 Guns N' Roses were headliners, so we wanted to be around.
Yeah, and then on the other nights, because I think it's a nighttime thing, when the sun's going down, you get your best views, don't you? I think we just either didn't get a chance or there was a big queue. And I think 2019, it was just too wet and windy. I don't actually think it was...
They didn't run it for a long time. Yeah. Weather was too bad, and I think they stopped. They stopped doing it, so we kind of got the last really good one. Yeah,
I think it might have been going around a bit on the Sunday, maybe, but we didn't fancy going on it anyway, did we? So hopefully, might get up there again this year.
Yeah, with a bit of luck. Yeah, so that's one of them. There's also another 2 or 3. One is the whole festival of the pilot experience. Because we were 2 of the lucky 10,000 people that got tickets. And it was put together at such short notice, and it worked. Yeah, there were some things that weren't great, but just the fact that we got to do it was just incredible. The other 2 I'll quickly kind of go over was Guns N' Roses headlining. Guns N' Roses is the band that kind of started my love of music, and so it was great to finally see them live. They put on a fantastic show. Axl managed it all the way through, which makes a change. It looked very hard breath for a lot of the set, but they were really good. And the last one is Metallica in 2004, when they had multiple drummers to fill in for Lars Ulrich. And it's one of those moments that it doesn't happen. It's kind of a once-in-a-lifetime kind of thing that'll happen. Again, just really lucky to be there for it. How about you?
Mine are pretty similar strokes, same to all of yours, to be honest.
Okay.
So my first one was the Pilot Festival last year. Just the whole experience of that, just being there and just download on a small scale. Like you said, being one of the few people lucky enough to get the ticket. And I think within that highlights the people we managed to meet in the guest area, particularly Rao Reynolds from Shikari.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was quite a moment, wasn't it?
It certainly was for you, definitely.
Yeah, so I was brave enough to go up and say hi and give him a hug. And he was lovely. So that was definitely a moment. I think also a random one that I thought of on the back of that was actually meeting Benji from Skindred while we were watching Slipknot. Because that was just so unexpected. It was like, it's Benji. You just grabbed him and shook his hand, and I was just like, hi. And off he ran to wherever he was going with his missus following him, I think. Yeah,
Benji was really cool. It was just kind of weird to see him pretty much walking unnoticed through a crowd while Slipknot were playing.
Yeah, I think obviously most people were watching Slipknot, so weren't looking around for anyone, but he just happened to walk straight in front of us. Yeah. And we happened to just clock him at that moment.
And we spotted him and spoke to him, and he's a really nice guy.
I think actually relating to that, another best experience is always a Newport helicopter. I've done a couple of festivals now at least, so that's always a good one. And same as you, just Guns N' Roses, just for actually getting to see them live.
Finally ticked off the list.
I think actually related to that, just going back to 2012 when we saw Slash, I remember we were both like, it's an actual Slash, didn't we? It's
actual Slash.
And we probably thought at that point that was the nearest we were ever going to get to seeing
part of
Guns N' Roses as well, I remember, All weekend it was like, oh, it's actual Slash.
Did Matt Sorum drum for Slash and Miles?
I think he did actually, so we kind of saw didn't we?
So we kind of saw, 40% of Guns N' Roses?
Yeah, thereabouts.
Yeah. I'd forgotten about the Slash and Miles at 2012.
Yeah, it's funny how we've been talking about it and other ones have sprung to mind, so there may be a part 2 of this to follow.
Yeah, there could well be. But it shows you that there's been so many great experiences that we've had at festivals and why we love going. We've got, 4 this month?
This month?
This year?
That's good going, this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we have got 4 this year, which is, I think the most we've done in a year before is 2, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, yes, there'll definitely be a roundup of those experiences later in the year.
Absolutely. Right, our recommendation of the week. And this week it's Dead Label. So it's a band I've really been getting into lately. I'm absolutely loving them. Can't wait to see them play live.
Yeah, I've been listening to them quite a bit this week as well. Also looking forward to seeing them. They're at Download this year, I think on the Dogtooth stage on Saturday.
Yep, sounds right. And yeah, I really like these. There's some great stuff out there to listen to. So there's things like Flux, which has got the video, the whole vibe of the song. It really reminds me of Before I Forget by Slipknot. So it's worth checking that out and kind of drawing your own comparisons to that, I suppose. Great tracks as well. Pure Chaos, Throne of Bones. Interestingly, kind of like one of the backhanded things that gets bandied about with these is that they've got a female drummer. So there's a lot of people who've said, wow, you've got a female drummer. It's, well, the gender's irrelevant. She's just a great drummer.
Yeah, they're not the only band to do that either, are they?
No,
really?
They're not. But I mean, she's really good.
Yeah.
It's good to see a new drummer like with so much energy and really hammering that drum kit. I'd also say they've quite an angry sort of sound, some big fat riffs on there.
Yeah, I'd agree with that as well. A big fat sound is probably how I describe it actually. There's some new metal vibes in there and some metalcore vibes.
Yeah, I've also checked some of their merch out, and their merch is really, really cool.
Okay, that's interesting, because I do love the cover of Throne of Bones, the album.
I think that's on there.
Is that on there?
T-shirt,
yeah, I imagine from looking at that, they've probably got some cool merch with skulls on and stuff. So
yeah. You're not far away. They've got some really good merch, so I'm probably going to have to get some of that. And I'd say if you're a fan of, I don't know, bands like Machine Head, Fear Factory, you're not going to go far wrong with these guys.
Yeah, I'd say that's a good shout.
So yeah, that's a recommendation for this week. Dead Label. So check those guys out. Absolutely love them.
Okay, so that's the end of this week's episode. Thank you for listening. We hope that you've enjoyed. Don't forget that you can find us on Instagram and Twitter. Just search for Ready to Mosh Cast and give us a like and follow over there. And if you have enjoyed what you're listening to, then just please spread the word. Make it stop, Moog.